Let's move on to Oregon and Michigan. Oregon beats Michigan 38-17. This game was a little bit closer at points. It was 7-7 there in the first quarter. Tez Johnson does unfortunately go out. Looks like he is most likely done for the season based off his Instagram story and what we saw there. But at the end of the day, Dylan Gabriel with 294 yards passing. That was a fantastic performance. Looks like the Heisman front runner at this point, or one of them. After this performance, Michigan's failed trick plays. I mean, and there was really no other option Michigan had to, move the ball other than trick plays and stuff. Real fast, John is asking, "Where's the team graphics?" I didn't have time to make them today, so I apologize. No team graphics today. I just didn't have time for them. So next time they'll be there. But yeah, Zach, your thoughts on Oregon, Michigan?
So I know the yardage doesn't make it look like it, but I went back and watched at least the extended highlights, which you can't get everything from highlights. But just going back and watching those, I just came away thinking Michigan wasn't as bad as I thought they were. Like I checked in on the game and I saw the game, but like watching it back, I was like, Michigan might be better than we think. Because if they don't pull the stupidity at the 4th and 5, we're talking about possibly a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. And instead, it's, at 38-17, it looks worse. I do think Oregon kind of pumped the brakes a little bit, but Michigan challenged them. And I think that maybe is my main takeaway. I still think Oregon's the best team in the country.
Yeah.
But I think Michigan, I know you and I might disagree on this. My main takeaway is I think Indiana's in for a dogfight next week.
I don't. I think they're going to kill Michigan.
Yeah, I know. I know you think that.
We'll get to that when we preview next week. But
Yeah.
I mean, Michigan has some good players. They had some players that can do some things, but I mean, this coaching staff, they just have no idea what they're doing. Like, and I'm
That's
sorry,
true.
I try not to super dog Michigan because like I realize I'm an Ohio State fan and me coming on here and dogging them is just like, my bias in a lot of ways, but I think it's absolutely justified because I heard multiple other Michigan podcasts talking about it. Like, what in the world is this coaching staff doing?
Yeah.
Why in the world are you calling a challenge on a clear drop? The guy went to the ground and dropped the ball. Colson Loveland clearly dropped the ball. And after the game, Sharon Moore's like, "Oh yeah, we got a guy upstairs that tells me when we should and shouldn't challenge stuff." And it's like, dude, you shouldn't have needed the challenge. Like, you saw the ball go flying up in the air after he hit the ground. Like, anybody that knows the rule books would be able to say like, "Oh yeah, if he didn't control it to the ground." That's number one. Number two, you run like a wide receiver pass to your backup quarterback on 4th and 5, and that's your 4th and 5 conversion play.
Yeah.
Like, you don't feel any confidence in your starting quarterback to be able to throw an out route. You don't have any confidence in your wide receiver to run a route essentially to get open. Like, it's just baffling at this point. Michigan doesn't have terrible players. I mean, their wide receiver core is not good. Davis Warren is a quarterback. Like, he is not like Alex Orji where he can't throw the ball. Davis Warren can throw the ball, and he's done a pretty good job these past 2 weeks. It's just the play calling and this coaching staff that I have no idea how a Michigan fan can be happy with any of this Michigan staff. I guess you get Bryce Underwood and you're happy, but other than that, I think Bryce Underwood watched that game yesterday and he was like, "Do I really want to play for these coaches?"
Yeah. Well, and I think to that point, when I say I think that Indiana could be in a dogfight next week, it is because of the players. And I'll say this, Michigan's still fighting. Like, they're still fighting, they're still playing hard. And that's one aspect of the coaching staff that I will give credit to, is that they have their guys fired up. But everything else about the coaching is awful. Right? Like, motivation only matters so much. You actually have to execute. You actually have to know the rules, as Gary Danielson would say.
Yep.
It's bad when Gary Danielson chastises you on national television. They don't know the rules. Like, that's bad. But I I do think there is. It's hard to say that there's hope because they're 5-4 and they have two really hard games ahead of them with Indiana and Ohio State, and a game against Northwestern that if they play a C+ game, that gets dicey. Like it's very possible. I know I just said I was more impressed with Michigan than I thought I'd be, and now I'm going to say that they might miss a bowl game. But like the problem really is the coaching. Like
Yeah.
that's the biggest issue. They have the players. Like I'll
They
say
have
they
three
have
first-round picks.
yeah
They have
they have
3 first-round picks on this team, possibly 4.
they have the players to make every team on their on the rest of their schedule uncomfortable at the very least.
Yeah,
But
and
the
then the
coaching really
coaches
holds it
will,
back.
and the coaches will call plays and then they'll feel fine. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a few comments. John is here. He says, "How you doing, Jr. and Zach? Doing good, John. Appreciate you being here." Dave, why did you not read my comment? Dave, unfortunately, I don't see your comment in here.
Yeah, it's not
So
in
I
here.
don't know if maybe I missed it or something. If I did, please put it in there again. I don't have the starred comments for some reason today, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, put it in the chat again. I'm sorry, Dave. We'll address it. John says you see Alex Orji hit his head on the sideline crane. Do you see that, Zach?
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
I mean that it's like the epitome of Michigan season. It's like
yeah,
it's and I don't want to laugh. Apparently he got concussed on the play, but
yeah. That's what John said.
yeah, but it's kind of like the Charlie Brown, like Lucy holding the football and going yoink.
Yeah,
Yeah, it kind of feels like that.
yeah. John is in favor. Oh, I don't know if he's in favor of it, but he says Michigan should hire Urban Meyer. I don't think Urban will go there, but
I
I heard of Michigan fans that say they should hire Lincoln Riley.
oh gosh,
I was
no.
like,
You want to talk
guys, don't
Lincoln
do
Riley
it.
is a dumpster fire right now.
If you guys hate Ryan Day, don't do it.
Okay, can I really quick? I love Urban. He's washed, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was starting to struggle at the tail end of his tenure at Ohio State. He was awful at Jacksonville. Like, he doesn't have the bandwidth anymore.
Well, and he wouldn't have the control. That's the biggest thing in today's day and age. And it's why you saw Nick Saban, I think, retire, is that these guys are realizing they don't have the control over these players that they once did before, right? They don't have the ability to tell these players, like, hey, you have to go do this, because at the end of the day, a lot of these players are making so much money. It's like, yeah, dude, you're not going to tell me what to do. Like, I'll sit out and then I'll go transfer somewhere else next year or whatever. Like, it's not the same game that Urban had. He got out of college at just the right time.
Yeah, agreed.
John says, what worries me about Michigan game is, as an IU fan, is the defense is still legit. I worry if Will Johnson plays. To be honest, John, if Will Johnson does play, I like the matchup for Curtis Rourke. He throws the ball over the middle so much, and he recognizes when Will Johnson has inside leverage. I don't think Will Johnson's going to get a pick six on Curtis Rourke. And Will Johnson doesn't cover over the middle as well as some other corners too. I still think he's a first round pick. I'm not knocking the guy. It's just that's one area of his game that is not as good as some other corners. So I think even if Will Johnson plays, I think you're fine.
And you still have the other corner to pick on too.
Yeah, which Jair Hill was out this game. So, which actually that was kind of better for Michigan. I felt like Amir Hall did a really good job. Like,
yeah.
So, Road Dust says, or go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask, what's the impact of Tez Johnson's injury on Oregon?
I do think that, they lose a deep threat, obviously. But I think one of the biggest things, I mean, he has like 60 some catches on the season. So if he is truly out for the entire season, Dillon Gabriel does lose one of his preferred targets on third down and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think this Oregon team is good enough that Dillon Gabriel can find somebody else to throw to, and I think they have enough depth at wide receiver. There shouldn't be a huge drop-off, but there's definitely going to be an adjustment period of Dillon Gabriel finding his third down guy and, having a better deep threat than – I mean, there's not going to be a better deep threat than Tez Johnson, but finding another deep threat on this team. Of course, Evan Stewart can do it, but yeah.